In the past 3 weeks, we have seen over 17 million people in the United States become unemployed through no fault of their own. Yes, these are difficult times, but that still leaves us with over 100 million people in the United States working full time. To accomplish our jobs, though, we have to adapt. And most of us can't do things the way we used to do them before. For some of us, what we look like when we emerge from this COVID 19 will be very different than what we looked like before things began. So, the purpose of this video podcast is to talk to those who are considered essential business and what can we learn from them? How has COVID 19 affected them? What essential services do they provide? How have they adapted? What opportunities have opened up to them as a result of this? And how has this time allowed them to do things that otherwise they could not have done? In the upcoming episodes, we'll be talking with utility workers, bridge engineers, nurses, distributors of essential goods, firefighters, pallet manufacturers, automotive engineers, and others who we are dependent on to keep our daily lives moving forward. And we hope that each episode will provide you with a nugget or two to benefit you and your company. In our very first episode, we'll be talking to Kelly Evans from the company of RV Evans, who recently joined forces with Link Systems. Kelly is the grandson of RV Evans, who started a company back in 1937. So Kelly, tell us a little bit about the business, how you came to be in the business, and then we'll get into the purpose of this podcast, which is why we're still working. It's essential business.
You bet. Sure, Craig. So RV Evans Company is an industrial distributor of packaging and fastening products. And as you mentioned, was founded by my grandfather, the late RV Evans Sr. And it was founded in a garage in Decatur, Illinois. Really, my grandfather was a manufacturer's rep, was not a stocking distributor until the early 60s when my father joined the business, RV Evans Jr., and my uncle, Tom Evans. And they took the business into the distribution realm with the first pneumatic nailer and stapling company called Passload. And Passload and container stapling, carton closing, kind of put the company on the map in terms of buying and reselling product. And from there, obviously branched out into a lot of things in terms of packaging and fastening throughout the Midwest. And my tenure with the company started probably at 2, but truthfully, through years of working there, went to college and got a degree in marketing, and then wanted to come into the family business. And so joined the firm in 1989 in sales and worked my way through in sales into a couple different product manager roles and a sales manager role. And then ultimately in 1998 was asked to take the helm through really just a succession plan. And it was not out of anything of born necessity. It was just a transition that took place. And so I've been really with the company, this being the 31st year of my employment with RV Evans. And then most recently, we joined forces with Link Systems in January of this year, and couldn't be more excited about that alignment.
Yeah, we're excited to have the marriage take place too. We've always really been good companies to work together, serving on the national account side, working with Ed Moss and some of your people. And I remember the day Ted called me, and they were close to making a deal behind the scenes, which I wasn't privy to, which is fine. And Ted said, if we were to buy somebody, who would you think? And I said, RV Evans. He goes, why? And I said, their culture is amazing. Their people are amazing. They would fit so nicely with Link. And 2 minutes after him and I hung up, he called and pulled the trigger. So we were super excited to get you guys. But I want you to, I'm trying to put myself into your shoes, Kelly. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm thinking if I were Kelly Evans, I've gone through this whole transition process, having this partnership formed with Link. We're ready to rock and roll. It's released at the company meeting. We're super excited. And then a week later, boom, like this big, it's like a gut punch to you, I would think, being in your shoes. Did you feel that way?
Certainly a hard curveball, so there were some really mixed feelings, right? So having gone through no less than probably 10 once-in-a-lifetime events in our business, right? They're always unprecedented events. Yeah, that's one of the terms we always hear is the unprecedented. Well, they're all unprecedented. But the reality is that we've managed through a lot in the past. So you saw this as it started to unfold and thought, this is very unique, but I was very I was very happy that we were aligned with a strong team, not only just Link, but certainly Cinerock, who is the parent behind it. And that really feels differently when you're an independent distributor and we're out making acquisitions. It really does put the brakes on things for a while until you can kind of really do a little bit of triage and figure out what's going on around you. In this environment, Craig, was a little different, no less painful in terms of the absolute hard stop on the business, it felt like. But really the momentum that we had coming into this was very strong, coming off of an annual meeting, coming off with really some great diversification. I don't truly feel we could be any more better positioned than we are now to have really the market coverage that we have and the diversification that we have. It's just a matter of things starting to ramp back up. But to your question, it certainly was a hard right turn, and one that caused great pause for all of us to realize kind of what just happened.
Right. I know in the introduction, which you didn't hear, there's a point about the fact that, yes, in the last 3 weeks, we've seen in the United States, 17 million people lose their jobs through no fault of their own. That being said, there's still over 100 million people working, which we are among those because we're classified as essential business. So what keeps us in that classification that allows us to still work, Kelly?
Well, there's several things. I mean, obviously, we talk about diversification, Craig, on 3 fronts. So when people talk about being diversified, that's pretty ambiguous. To us, it's diversification by customer or industry group, right? So we deal with all kinds of customers, folks in the pet food industry, the marine industry, the auto industry, the agricultural industry. We're diversified by the products that we sell to them. So now in our quiver, we have arrows that are packaging related, fastening related, automation. And then lastly, we're diversified by the geography that we cover now into 30 states. So we're, by virtue of the fact that what's happening on the East Coast is different than what's happening in Kansas City, really opens up a lot of different opportunities for us. So a lot of our customers, by nature of being diversified, some are on the sidelines, unfortunately, temporarily, we hope. And then there are those that are right in the middle of really being incredibly valuable during these times, folks in the healthcare industry, folks that are supplying food and food grade packaging. So we feel like there's a real need for what we do on the essential side. And from an opportunity standpoint, automation is becoming more and more important, right? So for us, being in the back of those plants, even virtually, helping folks get product out the door when they're distancing with the folks in the back of the plant, we think there's real opportunity for us to come in and help assist in terms of automation to get product out the door.
Yeah, well said. I gleaned some of that from watching your videos this morning. I was on YouTube and I went through some of the videos that you've produced up there, and really nice quality, obviously professionally shot, well edited. I mean, it just really sends a message out nice. But you make the comment in one of those videos that when you sell equipment, we have to stand behind them because equipment eventually breaks down, wears out, needs parts replaced, something goes wrong. Right. And that's really where Link Systems and RV Evans have built our reputation, is on the service end. So how are we still able to get our guys to go out into the field in times like this? What precautions have been taken to make sure that we're protecting not only our guys, but our customers as well?
Right. Well, that's a great question because certainly it is different, right? We are actually finding ourselves showing up at plants now where maybe the tools are put on the outside of the plant, and we're to sanitize the tools. And we're fortunate to have a great service fleet of vehicles that are really rolling workbenches and workshops, if you will. So guys can work out of the back of their trucks and be able to get customers repaired and back up with uptime again. The packaging side's a little more challenging because you need to be in a plant with a piece of equipment that maybe is online. So there has been protocols put in place where we call ahead and then a line is down, where maybe you're escorted in and it's an area that's not populated at the moment, and our guys have been able to come in. A little more selective on the times that we're asked to come in. It's not just a call and show up situation anymore. But certainly, Craig, the technical service piece, we've always said it at RV Evans, and I know it's true at Link, it is the cornerstone of what we do. I mean, we're a distributor of products, films, tapes, strap, but at the end of the day, no matter what you buy in terms of equipment, it's equipment, and it will at some point fail you through no fault of your own or anyone else's. It may wear out, it may wear down, And you just want to know that the folks that you rely on are also there for you to keep the piece of equipment running. And that's really what we're so proud of our team for doing, especially in times like these.
Yeah, well said. And I know, just speaking to those guys on the front line, our service reps, they're going in there and they're sanitizing the tools, even though they've said they've been sanitized. They're not taking chances. They're spraying them down with a combination of bleach and water, just making sure they're safe. They get back in the van, they clean all their tools off, these necessary steps to keep themselves and their families healthy. And that's been a lot of extra work, but certainly worth it. Now, one of the things that everybody's finding difficult, and it's even our customers as well, Kelly, is getting PPE, because that was a big part of our line. PPE was very important to us, but now it's going, a good chunk of that's going to first responders, nurses, and things like that we would be able to get very easily. Now we can't get that. We're probably in that boat with the other 100 million Americans that are working as well, that aren't nurses, doctors, police, fire, rescue, those types of people. But what other challenges are you finding, or something that maybe kind of hit you out of left field, that in addition to those things that we've had to work around and come up with a solution?
Well, I think, thankfully our supply chain has remained really strong, and hats off to our purchasing group, who, I don't know, there's a friend of mine that always says you're better to be lucky than good. So I think there's a little bit of both, that we went long on some things, on some of the imports and things we brought out of China and other parts of the world. Areas like India, we have some suppliers in that part of the country. We've seen some delays in shipping. So the supply chain has proposed a little bit of a challenge, but nonetheless, our back orders really haven't gone up in such a way that is an overly large concern. Naturally, the longer something lasts, that can become a problem at some point. And we just want to make sure that we are adequately stocked in all of our warehouses. I think the challenge, Craig, for us is just, once you realize what was happening, trying to put employee safety paramount and yet still not interrupt the daily routine of business. And I know that sounds kind of cliche-ish, but I'm really proud of our team at Lincoln Evans. Is within days, not weeks, we were able to mobilize our teams with technology, thank goodness, and the investments that have been made to get folks remote phones transferred from their desk to their cell phones. We purchased several new laptops for those that didn't have VPN connections already, to make sure that they were able to communicate with customers. I think that's really important. And the reason I think that's really important, we talk about anchor points in our business. My father always used to say, customers, people buy from people, companies don't buy from companies. And so the relationships that we have are so strong that those anchor points that you have in the relationships, some people make the misnomer that it's just salespeople that do that. But it's not. It's the customer service person that folks interact with. It's the service technician that people interact with. It's maybe even the accounts receivable person that they talk to on the phone on a regular basis. So having access to those folks with our customers remotely has been really a powerful thing, in my opinion, because people still have that connectivity that doesn't interrupt their business, but they still feel like they're talking to the same folks.
No, that's important to hear too. Thinking about, whenever something like this happens, life-changing moments, there's always opportunities that open up. So what opportunities have you seen, Kelly, that have allowed us to do things that maybe if this didn't happen, we might not have had that opportunity?
Fair question. I think maybe I'll answer it this way, Craig. I think that it has accelerated some things that we had some suspicions that, things like technology, for instance. We were already underway making some investments, CRM technology and customer service supporting technology, taking a lot of our our business to the cloud. And so that we're not relying on servers and mechanical devices to operate our business. So that makes us even more mobile, no matter where we're at, to be able to conduct business. That we found already, that ship left the harbor, if you will, prior to the COVID crisis. This just really pushed it a lot, accelerated a lot faster. And so for that, we're blessed, but it's creating some challenges because you kind of put things in hyperdrive a little bit. I think some of the other things that we're finding that probably are going to be a challenge, we're just not quite sure exactly what they are just yet. And what I mean by that is, there's a lot of things we all do every day that during times like this, you reassess what's really adding value and what's not. And so I suspect that we're going to realign some of our processes that we thought all along were very necessary. And you may find out that this may not be as necessary as you thought it was. And at the end of the day, here's the important things to focus on in the business. And so being more efficient, obviously being one. Maybe it's the use of all the sales calls and the things that we do, kind of old school, the way that I grew up. And you find that in today's buying environment with a younger group of folks at the helm in those buying positions, this is something that's teaching guys like ourselves and who've been at this for a while, that this is very effective. I shared with one of our fellow managers, we've had these tools for some time, and self-admittedly not an early adopter as much as some of the younger folks in our organization. I can almost feel them saying, see, I told you so, because guys like myself are going, holy cow, this really works.
Right. No, that's great. And I know, even talking to a lot of the sales reps, asking them what's keeping them busy, and they're diving into Excel. Maybe they knew enough to get by, but become proficient. PowerPoint, putting on PowerPoint presentations. I know in my role as national account, that is a very nice tool for me to be able to, in my home office, be able to show a presentation to someone in Charlotte, as an example, 700 miles away from Detroit. So these are things that are really nice. And I think it's an opportunity for us to get on board. You mentioned CRM. There's a lot of training. It's new technology, but it's all to make us more efficient for our customers. And what we're going to look like when we emerge from this will be different, and I think better than what we were going into it. One last thing, I'll let you go, Kelly. The one thing I noticed walking virtually through your videos, I see in the background a lot of sports paraphernalia. I see your golf clubs are sitting back in a corner. I see hockey pucks on a shelf. I see lots of baseballs, and I saw a football helmet in a case. I mean, I love sports too. Can you make any sports comparisons to what you're going through? Life lessons that you learned playing sports growing up as a kid, watching sports. I know Wayne Gretzky was your hero. My hero just passed last week, was Al Kaline. And I've learned a lot of lessons just from watching him. And I know Wayne Gretzky would probably teach you similar lessons too. So I'll stop talking and give you a chance.
No, Craig, you're very observant, by the way. We're sports junkies. I mean, most of us, and whether you competed in, it doesn't even have to be a sport. It could be you competed in band or some other avenue. But I think obviously what we do is we compete every day. So by virtue of what you saw in the video, we have training rooms that are, I'm kind of a sports memorabilia junkie. So I have all kinds of various sports memorabilia. So I find that holds salespeople's attention very well in meetings. But what I would tell you is I can't imagine my life without those experiences that sports taught me, and taught me a lot, taught me some really good lessons, taught me some hard lessons. And they're the things that you would think of, right? You put the work in, and those that put more work in usually prevail from those that don't. And I think for us, whether you played football, basketball, soccer, name the sport, we've all been defeated. We've all been beat. And it's really the person that pulls themselves up and dusts themselves off and gets right back in the game again. And I think that for us, we're learning some valuable lessons. And as you mentioned, Greg, we'll come out on the other side of this. Every single situation that happens that has adversity, if you walk away from it, the old saying, there's a little good in every bad. We walk away with something more than we went into it with. And I think we're learning some really powerful things about ourselves as an organization, maybe where there's some weaknesses, maybe where we need to shore some things up. But John Wooden was probably my all-time favorite mentor. I never had the chance to meet him, but I always admired the simplicity in the way he coached, but what he got out of his people by just being a genuine good person and caring. And John Wooden, one of his favorite sayings was, things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. And so I think, we're all dealing with a hard curveball here, and we can look at this as a real setback, or we can look at it as an opportunity to redefine ourselves a little bit. And I think that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're finding different ways to do business more efficiently, more effectively. And I heard not to overplay the sports analogies, but I heard a line by Jerry Rice, of the former Hall of Fame wide receiver with the San Francisco 49ers. And he said, today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't.
I remember that.
And
Down.
I think that's really what we all are trying to do right now, is to try to understand what should we be doing, because it feels very awkward to have our conversations in our living rooms right now. And it feels awkward, yet our days somehow don't seem any less busy. They're just a different form of busy, right?
Yep.
So I hope that we're using the time, and that's usually been my message with our sales folks, is this is a hard time out, if you want to use a sports analogy, that's very odd, but everyone's experiencing the timeout. So a lot of times we don't take the time to work on these things because we're afraid our competition's out doing something else. Well, the truth is we're all doing this right now. So let's take the time to not, show up to work in the morning in our sweatpants and use it as time off. Let's use it as a work day and figure out what we're going to do so that when we emerge on the other side, we're going to be even that much stronger.
You quoted Oscar Wilde yesterday on the call, and I wrote down the quote. I never heard it before. It was a great quote. Can you reiterate what that quote was?
A bit. The playwright, he had so many great quotes, but he said, experience is the hardest teacher. It gives you the test first and the lesson afterwards. Yeah. And so that's really what we're getting. We're all getting tested right now to try and find out what we need to do to kind of make it through this. But the lessons that we learned along the way, I think the really great companies are taking notes throughout the whole thing, and they're learning those lessons, and they're figuring out how to be a better company on the backside.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate joining on our first episode. Not really sure how long we'll be doing this, where it's going to go, but you got us off to a great start. Nice job. Look forward to your leadership influencing Link Systems and RB Evans and beyond as we continue to work together and get through this. So thank you again for joining us.
Great, Craig. Sure appreciate it. Be well.
All right. You too. Thank you, Kelly. Be safe. Bye-bye.
If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please forward them to cbellinger@linksystems.com. If you have an idea for this podcast or would like to participate in an episode, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you for your time and attention, and please be safe, be careful, and please be kind.